Right, this is me. So I'm a software engineer, so we haven't seen that many this morning, so I thought we may have a bit more of a technical talk this morning. So I'm a software engineer. I work for Fairfield Transport, which is now part of the WebTech group. And my role is to oversee the development of the onboard software, the embedded side, all these equipment, for the energy and comfort division. And that's products such as CCTV, the PIS, the energy meters, which is what I'm going to talk a bit about this morning, our event recorders, and also because my background is in the telecoms industry. I worked in the telecoms for many years before, and working on systems product, I also get to see and to take a look at the system products. So what's interesting in my role is I get to see some of the software development for the embedded side, and also some of the software development for the systems and the servers and all the data that goes out there in the cloud. So I might scare you to start with, a little bit, anyway, just to give you roughly the situation we're in and a bit of a history, and to take a look at how the network is actually structured in trains nowadays. We've had many different types of networks on the trains, and quite recently, it's been sometimes now, so many years, it's been converging towards Ethernet. And now everything we see in all the products, as this is what our customers are actually requesting, we're moving to Ethernet-based, to all Ethernet-based networks, even though obviously for some of the safety critical elements we still have some proprietary networks out there. But there's a strong convergence. And, well, it's an internal network, so we've got this backbone, Ethernet backbone inside the train. It's all internal, so it's all fine. Anyway, that's how it was a few years ago, and now we've changed that. We'll talk about that in a minute. And the state of affair that we're in today is that everything on this network isn't clear. Right? Everything isn't clear. And even today, you take the latest protocol from manufacturers, from all of us here, it's unclear. Okay, and even now we're moving towards web services orientation. The products are becoming like systems. Our embedded systems looks more and more like systems, and that's unclear too. And you can even put yourself on an internal network, and you can say, "Hello, you're going to get an IP address." And then you're going to do maybe some discovery on the web services to say, hello, could you tell me who's out there on the network? And you're going to get an answer. You're even going to get the whistle, which tells you how you can actually communicate with those equipment. That's the state we're in. And as you know, these trains are going to be in service for at least 25 years from now. So with obviously the big talks about cybersecurity, how is this going to migrate and evolve in the future? So, this is our network. So I've represented in green the backbone. Now, bear in mind, this, we all agree, is the comfort network. That's the fancy name to say this is the network which doesn't have any safety critical elements on it. So, of course, from a safety point of view, we're okay, because the safety is dealt with completely separately, so there's no issues there. We're really talking about comfort elements. Well, we'll take a look at those comfort elements in a minute to see if we are comfortable for those comfort elements to be on that comfort network. Okay, so what are we talking about? We're talking about the door control unit. Uh-oh. Well, the good news, obviously, there is redundancy in the door, so even if your software gets hacked, there's no worry, the door will not open, that's for sure, because the electronics will take over. But hey, we got the door. Passenger information system, okay? So we could get some fancy displays, or you can imagine things. The CCTV, the black boxes, the event recorders, they're on the network as well. The TCMS, our train control is there, and the energy meter. Even though it's got to be said, the energy meter mostly is on a dedicated network. It's in some network configurations, and it depends on the train, it depends on the operator. In some configurations, this is not going to be on the backbone, it could be on its own private network. And certainly the solution favorably sells for the DHS, and that's the case, it's isolated from the network. So, but it's okay. I mean, you know, nobody's going to get on that network. You know, it's all behind closed doors, and nobody's got the burn key. You don't have that. So we're okay. We're safe. Great idea. 15 years ago, somebody says, well, we could have a mobile network. So you know, we just buy a modem. We put a modem on the board. We put that box on the network, and now what can we do? We connect to a base station. We put a big server there, and that's it. Now we can offload data, and all these data from the door, from the PIS, CCTV, all these data's got values. We can do predictive maintenance with that. We can offload the CCTV, give it to police when they need it. You know, we don't have to go on the train and retrieve the cassette with the video on it. We can do everything remotely. Fantastic. From a business case point of view, this is brilliant. So on the server side, we have some experience. You know, so we'll put a firewall there, because we know servers get hacked. And we know that, because right now, every day, we get, you know, breaches, major breaches. And now we can have a pool of customers on a dedicated network, and they can start doing this predictive maintenance. They can get their videos, they can get the energy metering, so we can start doing the billing, and they can do all this from the comfort of their chair. They don't have to go into the depot and pick up that data. Well, the problem is we get that guy as well on the network, obviously. So is this a problem? Certainly from the server point of view, it is a problem, but that's being addressed. Okay, because this side of the industry has got some experience in protecting their infrastructure, and certainly if you host your data through the Amazon Web Service, from the Azure, for the OVH, these services, they sell you services where they can actually protect your data, you know, and they can sell you the expertise to do that. But one on the embedded side, one on that side. So that's at risk. Now, obviously, we can wonder if, you know, these are at risk too. I mean, for your PIS, you can, if you get hacked internally, you can get some silly things being displayed on your control or silly hours. That's going to impact your operation. From the CCTV, what the customer is really worried about is for those videos to end up on YouTube. And certainly because the police is usually the receiving end for this is what they're really worried about. It says, make sure my video has not been compromised, and prove to me my video has not been compromised. That's, okay, how do you prove that? And if I see my video on YouTube, I'll kill it. You know? For the event recorders as well, we use this data to monitor the traffic, make sure the drivers respects all the safety. That's critical data. Energy meters, imagine if that gets hacked. From a billing point of view, the impact this would have. So Faithfully's been tackling all these issues. We've got now over 15 years of experience, and all the examples that I've given you are actually covered. So we've actually got cloud services now, which we host in various infrastructure. I've already named those infrastructures. And so we've had to really gear up ourselves, make sure that we act responsibly, and we are preparing ourselves for all the issues related to cybersecurity. And that's what we're doing. So our emphasis here is not about safety. Very often when we talk about cybersecurity for the train, people worry about the safety. We're not about safety, we're on the comfort network. What we're worried about really is confidentiality of data, integrity. That's the example of the video, for example. If you're going to prove in court that somebody's done something based on the video, you've got to make sure that you can prove that actually what they're watching is the truth, is the real video. Availability, making sure the equipments work as they're intended, and the integrity of the software, because that was mentioned this morning in the talk last time. One of the issues with cybersecurity is we used to install our software on the trains, and that's it for 25 years. Thank you very much, goodbye. Well, with cybersecurity, this is finished. We don't do that. You put the software on the train, and then, well, you learn about new exploits, you learn about new failures, so you've got to update the software. But when you deliver the software, you've got to make sure that the software you're delivering is the correct one. Most of the attacks, are either by negligence or they are internal attacks. You've got to make sure what you're giving your customer is the right thing, and you're going to have some mechanism to protect and stop from fake software making its way onto an embedded equipment. So we're trying to obviously look at what's on offer. From a safety point of view, we all know about the CO2. We've got the EN 50128, 657 latest editions. It's very clear what you've got to do in terms of safety. Okay, there is a framework. You get audited. You get CFRL. You get the truth. They come. They assess you, and and it's clear. From a cybersecurity, right now, yes, there are standards, there are norms, there are bodies, but it's not as clear cut as it is for the safety. So you've got to use whatever's out there. So we really are waiting for some standard to be deployed. Not so much from a technical point of view, but more for how we structure our company to make sure that what we produce is actually safe. So the way to move forward with this, right now, what we're doing, is to say, well, for the ground servers, this is a different kind of engineering than the embedded system. So we have different body for that. For the embedded side, the first thing we need to do is, bring up our engineers. Most of our engineers are got electronics backgrounds. Even those doing software have got an electronics background. So we need to bring in, different blood, different perspective. So we're training our engineers, and it's difficult to find trainings at the moment. People say, oh, this is the training you should be doing. One of the training we've identified, and I love this one. Oh, this sounds so cool. I've actually done that training. It's the certification in ethical, and I put the quotes, ethical hacking, the CEH. I love that. So I'm an ethical hacker. So you don't worry. The other fantastic body that we have, which is a French body, the ANSI, it gives some very, very valuable information on, mostly on SCADA controls and other controls, but there's a wealth of information which is provided by the ANSI. The other thing we're doing is to bring in some fresh blood, some cybersecurity experts. They're actually difficult to get by. I believe we're not training enough in Europe students in that field, and we're gonna need a lot of these guys to help us really secure our system. And another thing we're looking at is how do we modify our organization. Now for security, we've got the RANS organization, the reliability and availability and maintainability security. These guys need also to step up and start being aware of the cybersecurity. We heard this morning of the things that you got to do in terms of cybersecurity, but how do you validate? How do you make sure you've actually covered this area? Can you prove you've actually done it? It's one thing to say that you comply to IEC 62 and so on. It's another thing to actually demonstrate it and being able in a position to demonstrate. So we also think that we need, and we can see this in the tenders, we need to move towards ISO 27001, at least to get started, and that's something that we're putting in place at the moment, trying to get that. And the other thing is we need to have a department that's looking at what I call the technological watch. That is, whenever there's a fresh problem with the system, that we can assess whether or not it impacts us. And if we do, we have to find a way to actually tell our customers that they need to update the software. And that may not be received very well. And this is why we need, in the industry, a change of mentality as well. As I said, right now, we deploy the products with a version of the software and we don't touch it. Well, with cybersecurity threats, we may have to touch it. Okay, and that's got to be accepted. We also need to adopt project management. ISO 27 actually cover these areas in all phases. And what we started, and we're doing this now, and it was very interesting to actually do it on existing products. We're running intrusion tests. And the good thing about intrusion tests is if you get a subscription, they keep sending you the intrusion test. So you fix it, you get a new one, you run it, and you're not so clean anymore. So that's one way of actually validating. Because once the product is out there, how are you going to validate that it's okay? It's quite an effort, it's a cost. Why would you do it? So if I move into talking a little bit more technically, very briefly, the things that we're looking at putting in place. Obviously, we're making sure now that if we've got Linux systems, we're tightening a firewall. All the best practices, things that look so obvious. I bet you go on your trains and you're trying to hack it into some of the Linux boxes. You try a few city passwords and root accounts. I bet you get in. So strengthening that, making sure we do that. Access level audit trainings, separate the networks, use VLAN as much as possible. Another thing that we started doing is to use the LXC mode of Linux, the containers. You may have heard about Docker, which is for the server. This is very big at the moment. LXC has actually been available on Linux since 2007. It's already available in the kernel 2.629. And LXC gives you a high level of protection. You know, cracking LXC is a big job. And also it changes your software, and it's a very good thing to have. And when intrusion tests, for the mobile network, and this is for the energy meters, the idea is to really try and, if you don't want to get into a problem, you just turn off the network. That sounds silly, but you turn off the network and then you're okay. And then you open it up on demand. And a good way to actually open it up is to use SMS. And the thing you have to make sure is you get a man in the middle, that you do some authentication at both ends. Okay, having a VPN is very good. Your data is going to be safe, but you don't know who you're talking to. So you've got to make sure that you've got your certificates in place. And for the Wi-Fi connection, obviously, the use of VPN is a must-have. So, final thoughts, I hope I'm not too long. We clearly need to ramp up and gear up towards cybersecurity, and it's just not just a case of how we're going to change the organization. I think we need to move towards the equivalent of the SEAL 2 or SEAL 4 type level. It's not about technology, it's about how we structure our organization so that at every stages of the development, we ask ourselves the correct question, and we can get assessed by, we can get audited on that basis. So we got a clear contract. And it's never going to be about technology, because if you're trying to impose on the cybersecurity some strict technology, by the time your standard comes out, you're already way behind. So it's more about how you organize yourself to make sure that you're always on top of it. And this is going to obviously require some changes, not only from the equipment manufacturers, but cybersecurity is an end-to-end problem, so all actors have to step in. Thank you very much.